What I'm going to do today is spend a lot of time, not on water claims so much, but on the insurance side of it. As you know or don't know, and many of you, obviously the ones who are here know, but many of your compadres out there, oh, so-and-so's ice maker leaked down to 1 unit, it's their problem. We're not going to file anything under the master policy. And then it does become our problem. And the reason it becomes our problem is the master policy has to cover the building as originally built. The master policy is the first line of defense when there is a claim.
Granted, we have a deductible. If it's below the deductible, you got a small little hole or a small little patch or got to paint a little area and it's going to be a $500 claim, obviously we're not going to get involved. But for any claim that goes over the association's deductible, even if it is someone who leaves the water on, or it is an appliance that leaks, or it is somebody's toilet wax ring seal thing that leaks, it is still part of the master policy if it's over the deductible. And that is the hardest thing for you folks to understand, those of you who are managers, because you say, we don't want to file this claim. We don't want to get the association's insurance involved, because if we do, our rates are going to go up. We don't want to call Sue. You know, leave her in the dark. Well, unfortunately, bylaws say the master policy covers the building as originally built. I try to tell people, if you had a fire and I was the one cooking and I set the place on fire, would you say, that's Sue's problem, she was cooking, we're not calling in the claim? Even though you have smoke damage and water damage and the fire department's called, you all will call me and say, Sue, report, we had a fire, okay? Now, I've probably heard about it, so I've already reported it, but thank you, do call me. All right, my favorite story is one morning, it was on 5 o'clock, I was in the office, and I don't work 5 o'clock on Sunday, only through Saturday. But I was we have a TV in our kitchen area, so I was listening to the TV, and they were showing this fire at a condo in Waikiki, and I'm thinking, okay, there's so-and-so, so what condo is that? And I figured out what condo it was. It was not mine, but I knew who insured it, and I knew who the agent was. So I called the insurance company, probably before this guy was up, reported the claim, saying there's a fire at this, you insure the building. Then I called the agent and said, I just want to let you know, since you weren't on the job, I was, and I reported this claim for you. Huh? Now, if I could have gotten to the board, but I couldn't. But anyway, so we have to be responsible to file that claim. When you get the adjuster involved in the beginning, we don't have to then come after the fact when somebody's ripped out the whole kitchen, remodeled it, and said, here's my $40,000 bill. We would like to go and see what damage we really had there. Maybe it was only $10,000 worth of damage, and we don't have to fight with the insured or with the unit owner to say, no, this is not going to be covered. It would have been much easier to have our adjuster go in up front. Also, if you file a claim and it is below the deductible, please understand the insurance companies do not hold that against you. When it comes time to put your project out to bid, we only have to show the losses that were paid. We don't have to show that we reported 10 claims and we only paid 2. We'll just show the 2 that were paid. We'll still get bids from people, because if we only paid 2 claims for a condo, you're doing well within a year. In fact, I have to laugh because MD is now looking for new business, ladies and gentlemen. Ron Comini at 1350 Ala Moana replaced all his pipes. He doesn't have any water claims. And he used to have 1 a week. He called me in January, they were done. I got a call from Ron in June, and I thought, oh no. He says, hey Sue, I thought, oh no, we had a water leak. How can we have a water leak? We just did the pipes. He says, but he wasn't calling for that. He was asking to see if I would donate some cards for some, giveaway. So I said, okay, Ron, not a problem. So you really, MD does need business. They've lost Rons because they have no more leaks. And I'm sure Ron is thrilled because it has been a long haul getting those pipes repaired in his building. But what you really need to understand is, besides the master policy, we have to have every unit owner have an HO6 or its equivalent. I'm not going to say through this whole speech its equivalent, so I'm just going to say HO6. And I don't care if you're a landlord, which I am, which Ron is, and several of you are. You can still have an HO6. Okay? Maybe you don't need all the coverage that comes on it, so then do the fire and the liability, whatever you want, but make sure you have that association's deductible covered. There's a project that's having its claim a week. It's not Ron's anymore. It's another one like Ron was, and it is going to have a $50,000 deductible starting August 15th. and it's not the largest deductible for condos in our state. Letters are going out to every single owner in that project that says, you better get your coverage, you better show proof to us, and you better make sure you've got at least $50,000 for dwelling, because you're going to get stuck with the association's deductible if your unit causes a claim. Now, as you know, many people do not carry an HO6. We are involved, MD, myself, an attorney. The attorney's not here, is he, Darren? No. Thank you. This attorney feels that the association should take maintenance money and put this man up because we have to get him out of his unit. And on top of that, we should also pay to move all of his stuff out of the unit so we can get in there and see what kind of damage we have. Now, I don't know about you, I sit on 3 boards. I wouldn't allow any of my maintenance money to be used to support some other dude who wasn't smart enough to buy his own HO6. But that's the type of situation you get yourself involved to. And as you know, the minute the attorney gets involved, this claim that happened 3 months ago just got re-inspected after we finally moved his stuff. We didn't move, he moved his stuff out. Now the next important part will be when we show what is his personal cost to repair versus what is AOAO cost to repair. I'm sure the attorney is going to say, okay, Sue, and he always calls him, okay, Sue, go ahead and cut a check for our owner. And when I tell him, no, we're only going to pay the AOAO side, we'll have a problem again. But that's Darren's problem at that point. I'm going to say, call Darren, call Darren. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is you do not understand the importance of that HO6. For those of you that are in 514B and you have opted into the insurance section, you can force it. You can demand that they have it. Now, I know it's a lot of extra work, but we've taken that work out for most of you by saying we'll monitor it for you. You tell your people to send us their HO6, we'll put it in our system, we'll send out the letters when it renews, we'll say they don't have what they need. But you have to start by making sure that your board and property managers and general managers and site managers, you can start to push this. Because if we have the master policy and the HO6, it is a piece of cake when we have a claim. This other claim that Darren and I are on now, 3 months, okay? Took us a month and a half to move, for the guy to finally admit he could move somewhere. I have no relatives, I have no money, blah, blah. You know, well, somebody sprung you up there, so find a place to live, because we're not putting you up, okay? Well, someone has to remove all my stuff, and of course, we always get the hoarder types. Why is it that the hoarder types never have a homeowners and want us to go buy 3 big storage units to put their stuff in, okay? And we don't cover that. Okay, so I mean, it's taken 3 months, and we still have not gotten in to start on the claim because he didn't have an HO6. And as I had told the attorney in one email, if he had an HO6 for as measly as $156 with First Insurance Company of Hawaii, not that they wanted this guy, but I said, we would not be here today arguing about and not having this unit repaired. And he wrote back, the attorney wrote back, you're just trying to sell an HO6. And I, 5 o'clock in the morning, emailed back, I don't sell HO6s. Now, personally, I don't. But I didn't hear back from the attorney. And I thought, good, shut up. I'm tired of you, you know? But what I want to say to all of you is that it's very, very important to have that HO6. HO6 are for owner units, owners who either live or rent out their unit. If I am a landlord, and only the landlord, not the board, only the landlord can require a tenant to have an HO4. But landlords should do that. They're renting your apartment, it's worth $300,000, $500,000, and you let them in there with no insurance. And tenants set places on fire, and they have water claims, and they leave things running and create problems. So a landlord can require a tenant to carry insurance. The association cannot require a tenant, but the association can require every owner, whether they live in their unit or not, to have an HO6 or its equivalent. Now, I know you folks send out letters saying, you know, you should have this, but we're not going to monitor it. Well, you don't monitor it, nobody's going to do it. And then we're going to have a claim, and we're going to have some owner saying, I don't want to pay the $5,000 deductible, I have no money to do this, it's your fault, association, that it leaked. Why? Why is it your fault, even if it's a common element pipe? And then we get into all kinds of legal issues, liability issues. If they had insurance, it would be 1,000 times easier. So my push today is to push you, especially resident managers and general managers, to go back to your board and say, have we ever asked all of our owners to show proof of their HO6? And if I do your business, your insurance business, then I will monitor that for you. And you don't have to say, oh God, I don't want to keep track of 1,000 units and who's got one, and everybody's got a different expiration date, and I'm not, and 16 different types of policies from First and Fund, you're coming all in from State Farm, they all look different. Well, imagine if you didn't have to do that, but you just had to send a letter out that says, show proof to our agent. Okay, and some of the other agencies are starting to do that too. So ask your agent, do they do it? It's a free service. It then makes you just have to send out, or not even send out the original letter, we send it out, but it gives you the opportunity to say, hey everybody, we're going to make sure you have this HO6. Now, we will get the calls, because our names are always on them, from the person who's saying, how dare, what makes the board think they have this right? Who are they? They think they have too much power. We hear it all, okay? But we will explain how the board is really caring about them, that they're making them do this. Well, I have one, but it's none of your business what limits I carry. In fact, I had a woman call me yesterday. She doesn't want to tell me what limits she carries. I said, well, I don't care what limits you carry. I'm not going to change your policy. I said, how about you have your agent send me a note with your the expiration dates, and saying that the limits you carry meet or exceed the limits required by the association. I says, I can accept that. I'll put that in my file. I'm fine with it. So that calmed her down. She said, you do that? I said, I don't care what limits you have on your property. Well, I don't want the board to know, she said. They should have no reason to know what kind of furniture I have in my unit. I said, okay, I don't care whether you have early Salvation Army. I don't care whether you have early American antiques. Just tell me that it meets the requirements, and I'll be a happy camper. So you can do things like that to appease people, because they really do think you're doing this because you want to know what's behind that closed door. So again, HO6 for the unit owner, whether they live in it or not, should be mandatory. I have a project right now that has this $50,000 deductible, and one of the loss control recommendations from the insurance company was that they opt in to 514B, that they demand they get an HO6, and that they do the high-risk component inspection. Because you can't do the mandate of the insurance or the high risk without it. So let's talk a little about this high risk component. That's when the board determines what appliances or what issues are pretty much high risk. Of course, anything that bears water is a high risk because it creates claims. So whether it's the toilets, the washing machines, the ice makers, and ice makers cause a lot of claims. There are issues, and how do you inspect somebody's appliances? How do you get a plumber in? This project that's getting this $50,000 deductible from $5,000 has until August 15th, really the 14th, to get 365 units inspected. All the water-bearing appliances inspected. And then within the next month to force everybody to get them repaired, replaced, and to show proof to the insurance company. Or they didn't even want to renew, okay? If you don't have this high-risk component, you really have no way to force yourself into that unit. So when you go into 514B, there's a high-risk component. Label your appliances that are high risk. Get a plumber in there. Now, when a plumber is doing an inspection, and a certified licensed plumber, please, who has insurance, they charge you maybe 20, 25, 30 bucks a unit to inspect, not to repair, but to inspect. So it's not a horrible expense to know that what your appliances look like. I'm a landlord. When they did it at the condo where I have a rental unit, I got my little sheet back and everything was looking good until I saw water heater and it said rusted on bottom. Oh great, 60 gallons of water is about to leak down 12 floors. So I called the plumber back and I said, I really would like you to go in there instantly and change my water heater. He says, well, I'll give you an estimate on the cost. I said, I don't need an estimate. You don't understand. I am the insurance agent. I do not have water claims coming from my unit. You go back instantly, whatever the cost is, you send me the bill. Because I don't want to be the one that's filing a claim for my unit on the master policy I had insurance, there was no problem, but I didn't want to be the one that caused the claim. Sue Savio's unit leaked. Oh, great. You know, I don't need that. So I made him go back instantly. I said, just send me the bill. Don't worry about getting me a quote. Just do it, okay? That's how important it is when you find out that your water-bearing appliance is about to die. You know, you need to get it done. The HO4 is a tenant's policy. Now, as I said, only a landlord can force a tenant to have it. Now, and landlords are very good about forcing the tenant who has the dog to have it because they know dogs bite. So very seldom do I ever find anybody with a dog that's renting that doesn't have an HO4. But we find out that people who don't have dogs, most of them do not carry insurance. Okay, they have no concept that the landlord's policy isn't going to protect them. I hear that all the time when I get calls from them. There was a water leak, you know, the unit's been trashed, my things are ruined, who's going to pay for that? I said, your insurance company. I don't have an insurance company. I said, well, sir, the association doesn't own your property. They cannot legally insure it. Well, what about the landlord? It's his unit. I said, but he doesn't own your property either. Does he insure your car? Well, no. I said, well, if you insure your car, which you own, why don't you insure your property? You know, okay? They don't even think that there's anything they would need to worry about. I've had a tenant set a building on fire, $457,000 later in a fire claim. I'm sure I told this story. They're moving their packages in from downstairs. They're on their last package, always. And they're always on the 12th floor of a 12-story building, okay? Last package, box moving in. They're going down to get the last couple boxes. They look up and there's fire coming from their unit. Well, they ran out of space to store all the boxes they were bringing in, and they put one on top of the stove. Well, that's fine when the stove is off, but they accidentally hit the button that made the stove go on, though they did not know they did it. And by the time they go down the elevator, get the few other boxes out, look up, they hear the fire department coming, smoke coming out, and the place is on fire, and we've ruined 4 units. Of course, they have their possessions that are left in their box. They had no other insurance. They had no insurance, so they have just what's ever left in that box. I hope it was something worthwhile, okay, because that's it. No clothes, no nothing, all right, and no insurance. The landlord did not require them to carry an insurance policy. So, of course, they tried to sue the landlord. His insurance company defended him, and he was fine. It didn't cost him anything to have them sue, though who needs to have that? The association took care of the building as built, and then, of course, passed the deductible back to the landlord, because it was from his unit. His insurance company paid the deductible. So his policy had to defend him both ways. I mean, they have to defend. They had to pay the association deductible, and they had to take care of the lawsuit brought on by the tenants because it was his fault, right, that the place caught on fire. Okay? If they had had their HO4, their insurance company would have taken care of them, the landlord's insurance company would have taken care of him, and we would have taken care of the association. We did our job. Okay? The association passes the deductible back. So it's really important that everybody has their own coverage. You cannot rely on the master policy completely by itself, unless you're just worried about the building. Now, not that I'm a slum landlord, but my units are not high-end units. But they are, if they came with linoleum floor, they still have a linoleum floor unless some tenants put down carpeting. And I have long-term tenants, and I don't see my units from, I haven't seen one for 15 years. The guy's been in there for 15 years. You know, he sends me his rent, he says, Sue, this is broken. I say, fix it. He cuts it, subtracts it from his bill. We're all good and fine. Okay? Now, I don't know. The other day he said, you know, I wanted to paint the unit and put some carpet down. I said, fine, go for it. You know, do it, subtract it off, paint it, make it look nice. That's fine. You've been there a long time. I'll buy you some carpet. I don't know what kind of carpet you put down, but I don't care. I'm not insuring it. It's not my carpet. I still have a linoleum floor underneath. So if something gets wrong with his carpet, that's his problem. He has his HO4, okay? It's a roll-up carpet. He can take it when he goes. He didn't nail it down, okay? So he's okay. He's got his coverage. I got mine. The association has theirs. If he does something wrong, and the association says, okay, Sue, you're going to pay the deductible, not a problem. I have insurance that's going to take care of my deductible. We'll all be out of our own personal deductibles, which is nothing compared to a $50 or a $25 or a $10 or a $5,000 deductible. So do you understand why it is so important for you guys, your resident managers and your general managers and even you site managers to kind of, and the property managers, to kind of force your boards to really move on this issue? More and more are doing it, but there's still a whole bunch of you who have not gotten that far. And if you can, you will be yards ahead of anybody else when that claim comes. And you'll say, thank God we did it. Okay? And of course, when you do have that claim, and you have that water overflow or that fire, you know who to call because we're here on their dime today. So I just put a plug in. So any questions about what I've said so far? Oh, yeah, you're all so bright. And I'm such a great teacher. Right. Question?
How long does the owner have to do renovations after the damage?
Well, first of all, when there is a claim, you don't get a check the next day, okay? The adjuster comes out, he's got to do his thing, he's got to go back to the higher ups, they look it all over, check what coverages we have, and you get a check for the as-built to the association, which then deposits the check, then they cut it out. So it takes a good average 6 weeks from the start of a claim for a check. Some take longer because somebody doesn't submit a bill in, somebody's on the mainland, they don't want you in their unit, you've got all those kinds of issues as well. But the typical claim, 6 to 8 weeks, okay? You then, normally, most associations, and it varies, as long as it's not a large claim, they will give the money to the unit owner to repair the inside of his unit. So you now are free, you've got your $3,000, so when you want to do your wall, you can do it, or when you want to do your flooring, you can do it. Or if you don't want to do your flooring or your wall and you want to take the money to Vegas, I've had people do that, but the next time when they file the claim, the adjuster says, they didn't fix this from the first time, we ain't paying again. And we've had that happen. So too bad, we already gave you the money for the first claim, it leaked in the same spot, we're not covering it again, because you did not repair. Okay? So there's no time limit on things like that. Now, the association, when there is a huge loss, they may hire like 4 or 5 units, a big fire. They may hire one contractor, usually, to do the whole thing. Okay? So you're going to be moved out. Your HO6 is going to move you out and put you up elsewhere while we're rebuilding your unit. Okay? If you have one. And if you don't, it's money out of your pocket. Okay? And they're going to then proceed, the contractors, to rebuild that unit. And I've had claims that have taken, fire claims that have taken 3 to 6 months, or some even longer, to rebuild, depending upon how much damage and how many units are involved. And normally the contractors try to take care of the units that are less damaged first. In other words, if you're the unit that caused the fire and you're completely gutted, but there's some small damage all around you, they'll take care of those people, try to get them back in. Then, of course, you're the last one. We have a sample letter. We will send it to your board, because I do your insurance, and I would say, if your board approves of this letter, we'll send it out. And every now and then some board member doesn't like a word or two, we change it to make them happy, or they want a sentence or two changed. Not a problem. Just don't ask us to rewrite the whole thing. Then we'll send out that letter if you give us the owner's names, addresses, unit numbers. And then when the letters come back because you have the wrong addresses, we will give them back to you with the little yellow thing from the post office, and you have to give us the new addresses of the new owners or whatever's been changed, and then we'll send out the letter again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes?
I have a two-part question, Sue.
Go ahead, one part at a time.
One part at a time. So the first part is, can you share with us some of the things that the properties can do to perhaps lower some of the premiums, like doing risk management type things with plumbing inspections and stuff like that?
Sure.
And then secondly, if there's no claim, like we put you on notice for a leak or something, and there's no claim, there's no rate increase. Yeah. But like at State Farm, when we put them on notice, they kind of say that the rates could go up if they file it, or even if they.
They're just threatening you, hon. There's a State Farm agent here, right? Aren't you just threatening them? Where's the State Farm agent? I saw you earlier, right? You only charge them if there's a claim, right? See, Mono, you're wrong. There's State Farm. Stand up, State Farm. Come on. We want a face to remember it, because when someone files their State Farm claim, it's not on my back, it's on yours. Okay? So first thing, let's talk about the first part of the claim. First of all, your question was about risk management. Plumbing inspection carries a lot of weight with the underwriters. When I send out your project to bid, I have to send your list of losses. And if I don't have your project and you're asking me to bid on your project, I have to call your property manager and say, can you get me the list of losses? The underwriter will not release their quote unless they know what kind of losses you've had. Okay, so when you send me a list of losses that's this long, and there was 10, one every month, okay, and we paid out between $5,000 and $50,000 or $75,000, you're not as exciting to the underwriter as the project that has 1 or 2 losses. And if you are one of these horrible ones with lots of losses, but I can then say, by the way, since they've had all these losses, last month they implemented a plumbing program, and the plumber has completed 50%, 75%. The association is monitoring the repairs, and 30% have already done the repairs, and the board is pushing the others to get the repairs done. All of a sudden, you're up many pegs in the eyes of the underwriter. So you can't hide your claims. Okay, you can't say, well, we're going to go to First, or we're going to go to Fireman's Fund, or we're going to go to Island or Dietrich or somebody else. It doesn't, or State Farm. We all share each other's information. Okay, and I love State Farm's loss runs because they start from the year they got it in 1992 and whatever, and then they do no claims, and they'll show 2. And I tell my underwriters, look, no claims for 15 years. Didn't you wish you had this one? You know, so what if they had a claim this year? You know, that type of situation. Okay, so loss runs follow your project. So switching agents, switching companies doesn't get you a lower rate. Okay, you're still going to have your losses follow you. You can file 10 claims, and if only 1 gets paid out, only 1 will be on that list. The others go away. Okay, that's all the insurance company is looking for, the underwriter. How many claims, paid claims, have they had? And what are they doing about it? And are they all washing machine hoses? They had 6 washing machine hose claims through. What are they doing about them? I have an association that has never had a washing hose claim leak because they make those and carry the flood check hoses. When they see a new washing machine come in, they go up, they pull off the hose that comes with the washing machine, and they tell them you have to use this hose. And years ago, they made everybody replace it with the flood check hoses, the braided wired ones. They've never had a washing machine hose leak. It's a high-rise with lots of units. But they monitor it like dogs. The minute they see a new machine coming in, they're on those people delivering it. And they're on the owners that you cannot have this crummy hose that comes with the machine. Okay? And the association bought those hoses. And they hand them out to 1 per unit owner. Okay? Beyond that, you want more because you lost yours, you blew it, it went out with the old washing machine and you forgot to take it with it, keep it, then you pay it for it. But they give the first one free. So different projects do different things on how to maintain their claims, or how to maintain them so they don't have claims. But the plumbing inspection, doing things, I have a project in Maui, oh my God, it's a low rise, and I swear it's a lot of vacation rentals, so there's not a lot of people there all the time. In Maui, they have these, and I hear they're really loud, water, you put them near any water-bearing appliance, and when water leaks out, it's like a croaky, those frogs, croaky frogs. It's so loud that people outside of the unit can hear this thing buzzing, so the manager knows they have to go inside because something's leaking. And they went out and bought all these things. I think they put like 3 or 4 in each unit, next to the water heaters, the toilets, the tubs, for these units that are always empty because nobody ever shows up. Okay? So there's things you can do when you got to look at your project, you got to see what's leaking. Ron's project, and as condos get older, you're all going to get stuck having to do that. My favorite example is Queen Emma Gardens, which is 55 years old, and it is yet to have a water claim. Now, it's not because they have old pipes. They replaced them years ago. Okay? Years ago. So Ron's building did it, 1350 Al Moana did it, and they haven't had a claim since January. I'm knocking on wood just in case. So, and other buildings are going through it, and it's not pleasant. You can ask Ron. In fact, there's a seminar on about it next month. You can ask Ron. He'll tell you how horrible it was. The worst 2 years of his life. Okay? Right? Wouldn't you say it was the worst 2 years of your life? Now, I said, but look, no one comes, you don't have any claims, MD's not at your door. Okay, so it works. Kahala Towers is going through it, Sunset Towers is going through it. You're all eventually going to have to go through it. And it's millions, millions and millions of dollars. But someday we're all going to have to go through it in the condos that we own. So be prepared. But in the meantime, plumbing inspections. Next question. Done? We get out early? Go back to work? Have dessert again? Okay, thank you very much for your time.